I'll lead off by letting you know that we're going to have Dustin Didawick come as our first presenter. Dustin, would you come over and lead into the program, which will be about a half an hour in length. Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you, Hal. Thank you all for being here. I'm actually pinch hitting today. Our current president, Matt, was not able to be here. I'm the immediate past president. And for all the jokes that Matt and I had over the last 18 months or so about he was going to get to take credit for this after I did all the work, it worked out that I got to be here anyway. But the reality is Hal did all the work. So even though I'm going to act like I'm taking credit for it, and Hal, none of this would have happened without you. Thank you so much. Being the president of the Staunton Rotary Club was a big deal for me. I grew up in Staunton, and looking at the names on the list of past presidents in the last 100 years, there are many names that I know, but not people that I went to school with, but their grandparents. And it really is a very exciting thing for me to be able to be part of this that really has been here for 100 years. And what a better way to celebrate that than this beautiful structure that will be here for another 100 years. With that, I don't have a whole lot else to say other than, again, Hal did all the hard work of coordinating this, and there's not enough that I could say about his efforts through nothing that anybody could have seen coming. I saw a joke the other day that I want to see one thing that's precedented in 2020. We have nothing that's precedented in 2020. And even through that adversity, here we are. It's beautiful. It's here. And thank you again. And we'll move on to the next speaker.
We're especially pleased to have as our next speaker our governor. Rotary is divided into a number of organizational units. Here in Staunton, we're part of District 7570, and we're fortunate to have Nancy Whitlock with us here, who will come next to tell us a little more about not the local things, but the bigger parts of Rotary, the parts that are indeed international, and the parts that put practice, service above self into practice every day. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Hal. We've got good lighting, so I think I can do this without my glasses. You know, I am really, really proud to be here today to honor the Rotary Club of Staunton. And I say that from a number of perspectives. You know, I say that as district governor, and I'm so thrilled that this is happening during what they call my year, which is 2021. But I also go back to when I first served as assistant governor, which we now call area governor. And you kind of, and of course, Ruth is in that position now, and we kind of presided various area events. And it was always such a thrill for me to talk a little bit about the history of the clubs and to make everyone absolutely aware of the fact that Staunton is the foundation for all of our Area 4 clubs. And to me, they have always been the gold standard for a successful and vibrant Rotary Club, and you all still are. So many of your members, I look up to all of you, but you know, specifically folks like Lee Beam and Hal, who have taught me so much about Rotary. I almost feel like I haven't been in Rotary long enough to be doing this, but I just really am so proud of the Staunton Club. When you look beyond Staunton and Area 4, like Hal said, we're part of District 7570, which extends from, I guess, Winchester all the way down to Bristol, Greenville, Johnson City. But we are even part of a larger organization, and that is Rotary International. And Rotary International has a foundation, the Rotary Foundation, that really is one player in terms of why we are here today. The Rotary Foundation is a 4-star Charity Navigator Foundation, and not a lot of nonprofits can say that. We get 100% for everything. And that means that we are good stewards of our money. And it is the folks back in 2017, 2018 that gave to the Rotary Foundation that money simmered and turned around and came back to us and provided funding for what we're celebrating today, a district collaborative grant. And usually we just talk about district grants. We don't talk so much about collaborative grants because you really have to get a lot of folks on board. And I think it is the high esteem in which we hold the Staunton Club that all of our area clubs joined in. And the district provided $12,000. Our area clubs, primarily the Staunton Club, provided a matching $12,000. And then there were other donors because, again, I think Staunton Rotary Club means so much to so many of us. And so I am, again, just really, really proud to be here today and celebrate this wonderful structure that is already benefiting the community, that will continue for many years to come. And wow, can you imagine 100 years old? That's just wonderful. So many congratulations and my heartfelt pride for the Staunton Rotary Club.
Dustin, thank you, Nancy. I think we're off to a good start toward that next 100 years. Before moving on, I would really like to acknowledge the leadership of our club, beginning with Steve Owen, who kicked this project off. It's that 2 years or more ago now. Steve, as we all know, has moved on to Richmond. Dustin Didawick followed him as president and is now past president, as you understand. Our current president, Matt Mills, all of these guys played a huge role in helping have this come about. I want to acknowledge that up front and very, very strongly. Steve recommended when he asked me to do this task that I form a committee. I did form a committee of 12 individuals. Some of them are here. Thank you for coming today. Others couldn't make it, but we couldn't have done this without the partnership of a group of 12 of us, each doing one or another thing. Someone doing a bit of work on fundraising, someone else doing a bit of work on helping a plan construction, or working with Julian Moffett for the cement concrete road. It was a team effort all the way through. I also would like to acknowledge that none of this could have been possible. Earlier, Dustin made a kind remark about my involvement. But my involvement was really minor to the involvement of two gentlemen that have come to be with us today. Colonel Greg Mullins from VMI and his wife Cindy, and Tom Sheets. Let me give you just a word or two, and then I'm going to invite you all, if you wish, to make a remark. Colonel Mullen has been involved in building many of these structures throughout Western Virginia. He knows how to get it done. He's built not only pavilions, but medieval catapults. And I would imagine other things that I've never even known about. Tom Sheets is with us today, representing Blue Ridge Lumber Timber. Without Tom's generous assistance in providing these beautiful oak timbers right here, this could not. Where is it? This could not have been built. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Tom. Would either or both of you like to make any remarks at this time? Tom?
Never there's a chance I would. No, but I've said this before, and some of you may have heard me say it. God grows it. God grows it. My people take it, cut it down, and do something. They're going in a timber frame deal. Do this. Not me. They took your idea, not my idea. Naturally, if it's timber frame and Greg, Cindy, I'm on board. You don't need to sell me on anything else. But I'm just a small pass through. And that's how I look at these projects that they do all over. And I'm here today as much to see what they did because they haven't taken the time. But I'm honored to be a small part of it. It is a small part.
I'm going to argue with you, but you're bigger than I am, so I better be careful. It's a damn big part, Tom, and thank you. Thank you. What do you have to tell us about this project that you were involved in from day one?
I started doing these projects in my role as an engineering professor at VMI to get cadets, engineering students involved in real life work. And that has morphed way beyond anything I expected to get them involved in real life with people like the Rotary and the other organizations that we partner with to do these. And there's a back and forth between. One of my favorite examples is we've had a lot of students from Massachusetts College of Art. And if you can think of the exact opposite of military school cadets, you've got it. And so you've got these kids in fatigues and you've got purple hair, black clothes, piercings, and we all gather up with the Rotarians or the PTA or whatever to start the project. And I kind of stand back and watch and Friday night when we gather up, I watch these two groups of students doing circle and sniff. You know, they're trying to figure out what's going on. And by Saturday night, I went out to the sawmill shed and there's one of my cadets sitting there with a guitar leading a song and a bunch of mass art kids and some of the other timber framers sitting on a pile of logs and they're all singing together and they're just students. And you know, they were able to all work together. I can't say enough about Tom's involvement. We met on a project at the Boy Scout camp 20 years ago. And Tom donated the wood for that because he was working with the Boy Scouts, as was I. The next year I went to Tom because he'd been so kind to donate to buy the wood for our next project, and Tom never sent me a bill. And 20 years later, he's still not sending me bills. And that sort of being able to count on that makes this possible, because we can go to Hal and say, you know, I can't guarantee it, but for 20 years we've been able to get the timber, and we hope that happens again. And it certainly makes it just that much more affordable for the sponsoring organization to make this sort of thing happen. And I've talked with Tom over the years, the service of low self. Rotary comes and is involved in this community as the Rotary is. And it's a pleasure to work with groups like this to make something that everybody can use. Allison was just telling me that she was really glad that now they've got a pavilion for her to be under with her son. One last story. We did a structure at an elementary school in Lexington a number of years ago. And I would drive by in the parking lot at lunchtime after we were done to see what was going on. A bunch of students and teachers down on the picnic tables doing whatever they were doing. You know, I didn't linger long because an old man watching the school kids is probably a bad thing. But you know, the payoff to us is when these things get used. And so thank you for allowing us to help get this one done.
Thank you.
I'm the former face. This is the one. Cindy's the one who actually knows.
Cindy. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Tom. This is a microphone, but yeah, I guess it's a microphone, by the way, and hope it picked up your comments. I'd like to reiterate just a little bit of what our Governor Nancy Whitlock told you a little earlier. Because when we began this project, we had a bank account that was about as flat as my Uncle Henry's old Ford, which has been in a barn for 23 years now. We applied to the district for a cooperative grant, $12,000, meaning that we, our Staunton Club, and the other clubs in our area would bring in a matching amount of $12,000. We were able to achieve that. And so thanks for that beginning vote of confidence, Nancy. You and the district, although that was earlier, your governorship began this summer. I don't recall who was the governor a year ago or whatever, but bless his heart, bless her heart, that got us started. I'd like next to do the following. On the plaque that you can see planted just recently behind me, there's a list of a number of names of our sponsors and partners. I'm going to read their names. ABC Supply Company provided the metal roofing. Atlantic Union Bank, Baber Enterprises provided the roofing. They installed the metal roofing. Balser Associates provided early support in site planning and development of the plan. Bankers Insurance, Lee Bean, Charlie Oba Auto Group, Community Foundation of the Central Blue Ridge, Allison Denby, Didawick and Company, First Bank and Trust, Herb and Sue Gottschalk, David Kirby. David Kirby was part of the roofing as well with his company. Kellstrom and Lee Construction, McDonough Toyota, Moffett Paving and Excavating. We're standing on his company's good work, which was generously provided. Lyle and Cheryl Moffett, James and Tamara Ridenauer, Shenandoah Sign Company. Thanks to Shenandoah Sign Company, we have the plaque that I've indicated already. Staunton Rotary, community grants assisted in providing funds for this project. Staunton Steam Laundry, Taylor and Booty Organ Builders. I should say that the handsome wheel above us here was done by Taylor Booty, and the service above self motto was provided by the Taylor Booty Organ Builders. I don't know that there are many pavilions, timber frame pavilions that you've built in the past, Greg, that have had organ builders as partners, but this one has. Nancy Whitlock, thank you for your contribution to help us, and the handsome addition of lighting and electrical power was provided by Tom Woodson. I want to make it clear without making things too accounting-like, and that's something I have no skills in at all, that our community sponsors gave upwards of $15,000. And if you add in the in-kind provision of support, that is not dollars, but timber and lighting and roofing, another estimated 29,000 have come in. I estimate the value of the building that we're now enjoying is around 73,000, and that doesn't count the land, it doesn't count the Park and Recreation's participation in this. So I think we've got a handsome building for the city of Staunton, the community of Staunton, all of us to enjoy for at least another century. It would be something I'd hesitate to do because I know I'd run well beyond the half hour I promised earlier, but I just want to say personally that my involvement in this project has been a real joy. I've gotten to meet so many wonderful people, generous, helpful people. I've gotten to learn how the timber framers go about doing this. Before a building like this can begin, it has to be pre-assembled, if you will, in Lexington at Griggs' shop, where these timbers are taken, evaluated, measured very carefully. Joints, mortise and tenon joints are cut. There are examples throughout the building we can see. A pre-assembly is done before the material is hauled to the site. Once everything seems to fit properly, it's brought here or brought to wherever the site is by a huge truck, and with the help of a shooting arm forklift, a term I hadn't known a year or two ago, things are lifted in place and assembled, fitting together just as they did on that trial fit earlier in Lexington. All of this is done by a team of experienced timber framers. The plan, I'll just make a quick remark about this. The plan was actually to involve upwards of 40 or 50 or perhaps more VMI cadets to do a lot of this work under the supervision of Greg and his team of timber framers. This year, obviously, we were unable to do that when we planned to in April. We did pull together the team of expert timber framers in June. Took a little bit longer to pull all those bits together I described to you, but they did a marvelous job. We have it all documented on our Rotary website, if any of you are interested. Many of you all have already looked at that and know what I'm talking about. But I just want to say this whole project is a learning experience for me, a joyful experience for me. but don't ask me to do another. Okay, next, I should say, as in part of this introduction, this celebrates the Rotary Centennial for the Rotary Club of Staunton, but it also celebrates our club, our members' appreciation of living here in the city of Staunton. We're delighted to give this structure to the city of Staunton, and we do it freely, enthusiastically, and knowing that it'll be well cared for and appreciated. Leslie, could you come over? Leslie is Staunton's assistant city manager, Leslie Beauregard. She'll make a few remarks, hopefully accepting what we've been so pleased to give.
No, I don't think you're going to. I think we'll definitely take it. Thank you so much for having me here today, celebrating this beautiful public space. Chris Tuttle, our Parks and Rec Director, is also here on the city's behalf, because he's going to be taking care of the structure. We got to make sure he's got the budget to do that, so we'll make sure that happens. I can say the city, we've already taken advantage of this beautiful space. We actually have had a department head meeting here. We did our final interviews with the Public Works Director here. As long as the weather holds out, we're going to keep trying to meet here. We're tired of Zoom. We're exhausted by it. Chris can attest to that. So we're going to keep meeting here as long as we can. The cold doesn't bother me, so I'm happy. Personally, our families use this space. My daughter and I like to ride our bikes here, so we'll come under here and spend time here. We'll see other families here. It's just a lovely place. I've only been here a year, so to have this pop up in my first year here is amazing. So thank you again for this space. And so now this is a really important, civic clubs, city partnerships are so critically important. I think this is a great example of that. And I looked at your four-way test, and I think they all apply, but two in particular spoke out to me, and I got to put my glasses on for this. The first was, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And I think in the time during our health pandemic, what better way to build friendships and goodwill than out in the open, underneath the space, you're out of the elements pretty much. So you can actually meet people here, and you don't have to, you can get out of your bubble a little bit. We're all worried about getting outside our bubble right now. So this offers that space during that time. And then will it be beneficial to all concerned? Absolutely. This space is for everyone, for the community. It most certainly benefits all. So let me just conclude by saying that I want to thank the Staunton Rotary Club for their vision, and to all their partners and helpers out there that made the space a reality. And I enjoyed hearing about all those partners and helpers. That's really amazing. And so on behalf of the city, I enthusiastically accept the transfer of the Staunton Centennial Pavilion to the city of Staunton. Thank you very much.
Any comments, Chris, please?
I have some comments. I do.
Come on over here so we get you on our recording.
So during this process, I made a good friend. Hal and I became good friends, almost talking on a weekly basis. Isn't that right, Hal? That's right. But from a Parks and Rec standpoint, I can't tell you how huge this is for us in the park system. We've wanted a shelter in this area of Montgomery Hall Park for years. We never could get the funding for it. When I talked to Hal and his committee about a possible shelter, I was totally blown away. This is more than a shelter. This is a work of art. I joked with Hal when we came down. Hal and I were the first two here. It's getting so much use now that we've had to develop a reservation system. We're not charging to use it, but we have people here all the time. I even had to run down today and put up signs that the shelter was reserved for the dedication. So I think we won. Everybody won. This is a beautiful shelter. I see people from my office come, a lot of times they're here taking pictures, and we'll get calls. Well, how'd they put that together? Who put it together? So it's a show place. All I can say is it's not enough is thank you. From a recreation standpoint, it means the world to us. We're anticipating hopefully when COVID is over and the pools are back up, this shelter is going to be used to the maximum. So again, thank you for the gift. It means the world to us.